Slide right up. It's not the one we called up, is it? Man, that'd take a while. And this is how you come down. All right. A little late in the day, but I'm safe to have an hour, I think. Whew, I should probably be using it for sleep, whatever. We had to go spend 4 hours at emergency yesterday. Sarah's not doing too well after surgery. A little frustrating. But we're back at home now. Shout her off, go see how it goes. And of course, her surgeon, she can't get a hold of her. She's away. And didn't even give her a prescription for painkillers. But we got the painkillers yesterday. But just a few other things going on, so we'll see what happens. She's in a lot of pain, that poor thing. Such a frustrating thing to watch, somebody in pain and nothing. I can't stand not being able to do anything. I fix everything. If I got a problem, I fix it. If I can't fix it, I learn how to do it. And I fix it. And then things like this, when I can't do anything, it really gets quite frustrating. So, here we are. And the ladies just showed up, just when we came home. I took her for a little drive. We just got home and the ladies showed up at the driveway with some homemade soup and bread for her. Sweet and kind. We love them so much. They're family. Now, here we go. It's always time to hear the people, right? That's very important. I hope everybody's realizing how important it is to be heard. I'll bite my lip and try not to go off today. I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning again last night. Trying to get my book done. Learning how to do everything by myself with that. And then just a quick idea of what's going on. So it's over 300 pages. There's photographs in there. And it's going to be a hard cover book with glossy pages so you can see the photos nice. And then you load it onto the publishing site. And then you can go through the pages. and pre-review it. And then it's like, oh shit, I loaded a few items in there wrong, which made it load on a handful of pages wrong, which makes me have to re-edit again and have to go through every single page manually and move photos up and then move the text up behind them, take photo out, move the text up, put it back on. Wow. At least I know how to do what I'm doing now. I'm sure there's probably an easier way. Somebody professional out there is going to know, but I don't know. And I don't have time to seek out help, and I prefer to learn on my own anyway. So I'm learning, and I've got it not dialed. It's just time now. I think I made it to about page 170 or something. So maybe I'll have it done today. Now, let's get some voices heard, shall we? Excuse me. What do we got? Mark this as read. This is titled, excuse me, I can file my experience now. Hi, Steve. My name is Kathy Geibel. Yes, you can use my name. I don't see many women writing into your show, so here I am. Well, we actually get quite a few, actually. I think it would be appropriate to note that I am and have been a registered nurse for over 40 years to describe what kind of person I am, LOL. One not prone to fantasy, that is. Sure, I've always believed in Sasquatch as a concept. I believe that most mythical beings have a basis, in fact. I just never considered it would ever affect me. I've been watching you since you appeared in Nino's Corner. You and those who share their experiences on your show have literally helped me know where to file an experience I had in 2007, and thank you. There we go, another bingo. I've never been a hunter, though I have spent much time in the forests, recreationally over the years. I can honestly say that I never had any of the experiences your viewers described until we moved to Sam's Valley in Southern Oregon in September 2007. We've been here about a month. Me, my 3 children, cats, horses, chickens, on a well-fenced 5 acres, 20 miles outside of Melford. Very rural. At the time, I was working as a flight nurse and got home well after dark. But as I pulled up to the gate, I was overcome by an intense and overwhelming terror. It was so intense, I was frozen in my truck at the gate and could not move. I've never felt such terror, and all this time it has been tattooed on my soul, and I had no place to, quote, file it, end quote. Eventually the fear for my kids overcome my fear of getting out of the truck. I've never moved so fast, opening that gate, closing it, as I had horses, and zooming up to the house where I locked all the doors and closed all the curtains. This feeling repeated itself the next night. I described it to the guys at work who thought maybe I was being stalked by a predator. And it was just suggested I get a couple guardian dogs, which we did within the month. I contacted a trusted psychic I had spoken to before about this. Her description was, quote, a dark, angry being who hated women especially, end quote. That's a little alarming, which I took to mean a spirit or a ghost. When the vague feeling persisted over time, I took salt and walked the entire fence line, claiming the property as mine in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. After this, the feeling on the property was much cleaner, though anywhere outside the gate was still creepy as hell. Validated by my now 29-year-old daughter. Other than that, life was uneventful until 2021 when my partner and I went to a spiritual retreat on Mount Shasta in Northern California. Basically, it was about communicating with the people of Telos inside the mountain, which I never could. We had a travel trailer at the time and parked it within the Red Fur Flat Group Camp, which is said to contain a portal. Late that evening, quote, someone, end quote, banged hard or slapped on the side of the trailer twice, which was quite disturbing, especially when we immediately went outside with flashlights and saw nobody. The next morning, we described the experience, and Ted, the organizer of the group, who can channel beings, told us we had parked on the Sasquatch highway. And an adolescent Sasquatch was basically messing with us. He suggested we move the trailer. I listened to your March 10th, 24 show this morning. You know, the very long email, lol. I resonated with so much that person had to say. The power of the, quote, dark ones, end quote, in the governments has been to keep us all at odds with each other and divided. I believe the Sasquatch beings are interdimensional and have different states of evolution and evolvement on a spiritual, emotional, intellectual, and psychic level, just as we humans do. Perhaps those who can sense Sasquatch are simply more intuitively tuned. Anyway, thank you for all you do. God bless you and Sarah for feeding those children. You and those of us subscribed are truly the counter movement to the diabolical spirit plots against all good things. Healing vibes to Sarah. Kathy. Kathy, absolutely appreciate you and your kind words. And your valuable time that you just donated to coming here. Yeah. Well, I said my spiel last time I was on here, my thoughts on what's going on, and I'll bring it up again. You know I will. It's funny, when I talked about it the other day, I will say one thing about teaching children. When I thought about what I'd said and what I know and what I think about, it's like, then if you ask yourself even more questions, and I was actually found myself wondering, just how much do parents teach children anymore? Isn't that weird? Obviously, I do not know, but I have a funny feeling that the majority of people just rifle their kids out the door and they leave the teaching to somebody else. Right? That's not. Now, if you look at it from outside the bubble looking in, like you're watching a bunch of fish in a container, that's probably not too cool, is it? You have children and rifle them off to somewhere else to be taught. Anyway, biting my lip. What do we got here? Vocals from last night. Had to forward because I originally sent to the wrong email. No problem. Where does it start here? Steve, I've sent you stuff before. This is Josh from West Tennessee, although I'm sure you probably won't remember because you get so many. Anyway, long story short, I own 50 acres in Benton County, Tennessee, close to the Tennessee River. About the property, about 4 years ago when we were clearing out to make a few campsites for a little small RV park, and the rest of the land is going to be an off-ridge, self-sustaining farm, one of the first times we burnt brush as a byproduct of clearing the land was the first time I'd ever even thought about fastball. Basically, this land is untouched, 50 years or so. They just till hay on it and parsley wood. Okay, no, we got 0 punctuation. Red alert. Parsley wood in a couple of hayfields need to be part of several thousand-acre farm way back in the day before it was cut up and sold off. There's a period. So, as I clear trees, I have a lot to my sawmilling. I think you meant you use a lot to your saw and use the rest of firewood or pile it up and burn a brush pile, so we make a big brush pile and burn it all at once. Okay, I can't do it, you guys. Sorry. I can't do this one. I'm too tired. It's too difficult for me. It needs proper punctuation. I can't tackle that and try to counter it right now. I got to be a little more sharper. So, maybe if I get time. Right. You know what? If you're here, you just sent me that. Please, go back over it again, do the punctuation, bust it up, and send it back to me again so I can read it smooth. Okay, man? Yeah. Okay, what's this one? Hold on a minute. All right, this email is titled Rock Throne. Steve, my name is Sean. I'm from Western Washington. It was 33 years ago. It was myself, my best friend, also named Sean, and my then pregnant girlfriend. We were in my Jeep Scrambler driving around in the woods like we always did. We were up by... Oh, excuse me. Sorry, guys. Oh, my God. Oh, that's an itchy one. We were in my Jeep Scrambler driving around in the woods like we always did. We were up by Ipsut Creek entrance to Mount Rainier Park entrance. It was probably about 9:30 at night. Dark, late springtime. We drove up and decided we had gone far enough and turned around as we headed back the mountain, and maybe a quarter mile after we turned around, no punctuation again. Shitty. Quarter mile after we turned around, we saw a rock come out of the tree line, 6 to 7 feet or more in the air, and land in the middle of the road in front of us. It wasn't small. About a 2-man rock, probably 18 inches to 24 inches around. There's no other reason for a rock that size to land how and where it did. The timber was flat ground to a slight slope at best, 12 inches to 18-inch timber at the base. We all got wide-eyed and drove around it as fast as we could. I don't think we spoke for a few miles until we were getting close to pavement and saying what the hell was that and how could that have happened. We still talk about it today. And now our kids tell a few of our stories as well to their buddies. I've hunted every year since and all over this state, but that's the only time we had an experience like that. After watching your channel quite a bit, I thought I should share our close call. Okay, man. Shared and shared through me again. There you go. Doesn't sound like much to your average person that doesn't or hasn't had any experiences, but something like that is going to stay with you all through your whole life. When a rock that only 2 men could throw together, maybe, comes flying in front of the frickin' vehicle and lands in front of them on the road. Right? Doesn't matter who you are. That happens, you're not going to forget it. Here's another one titled Only Sabe Experiences Listed Here. Is the title of this email. All right, well, looks like we got some. This is a long one. Hi, Steve. Pleased to be here. I write to share. I hope my story helps and adds to the discussion. First experience. I traveled a many miles trip north to land my ancestor of 6 generations ago. Came north to clear and settle on land when it was free for the clearing in northern Ontario, Canada. Unusually, I pull into the small rural cemetery first where we buried Mom the November before. The cemetery is on top of a hill on the other side of the creek, which borders the property on the other side where my grandfather built a house for his new wife. The house is now mine. I step out of the car and spread my arms wide and embrace the feeling of home. I always feel on this and surrounding land. Members of my family used to own all the land around here, and I have wandered all over it and loved it. It's very rural. After paying respects to Mom and Dad, Grandpa, and Grandma's graves on this sunny early spring afternoon, I head back to my car, loaded up with my first load of possessions to bring into the house. I pause at the gravestone of my ancestor and pay my respects. Then I notice a section of lingering. My God, I'm sorry, guys. What's my problem today? Then I notice a section of lingering spring snow at the old end of the cemetery nearby where the old growth pines at the top of the hill up from the creek set their shadows first in the afternoon. The lingering snow skiff is shaped like a wind-sculpted wave about 20 feet long, 3 feet high, for much of the length, then melted off to a taper at each end. I always loved finding lingering spring snow to wander barefoot on as a kid near the creek, on the other side of the creek. I walk over to it, and I see a left print heading out from one end. It looks like the big front half of a human print. I think bear, as we have a young bear wandering around looking for a new territory. On our first birthdays, we get fishing rods. We don't hunt or trap, but I know some tracks. So I see this left print and walk back along the snow to look for the right print. The right print is 15 feet behind the left print on the other side of the unbroken crust of the 3-foot-high, windswept snow. Huh? I think this must have been some long-legged critter. I pondered this for some time, as I'm in no hurry to walk back and forth between the two prints, trying to make sense of them. The sun's getting behind the old pines, and it's probably a little past 3 p.m. by now. The shadows are creeping up the hill from the creek, but have not reached the snow skiff yet. As I am on my haunches at the front print, and just as I decide I don't know what this track is, I hear in my head, "Go now." My chin shoots up, my body rising along with it, and I spin on my left heel, sight a spot on my car, and leave, keep my eyes down away from the voice direction on the other side of this sagging wire fence at the old corner of the cemetery, and up at the top of the alders at the top of the creek ridge. The fence I could never seem to get over when exploring. The fence, when I asked Grandma, she said, "There's nothing there." As I set my right foot down on the first step, I am pleased with the strength and efficiency of my body and my mind. I send out both a picture and a message. I think strongly and assuredly, this is the land of my ancestors, and I belong. Along with a picture of the land we, my family, have settled for a very long area around. As I set my right foot down each time, it seems as if my foot is pressing into my sock, stretching the sock fibers into my boot. I get to the car and swing my hip out around the back of my car, break the spell, and somehow the keys are in my hand, and I carefully drive out. I drive to the house, now newly mine, a short distance away on the other side of the creek, set up my laptop and Google bear tracks. Yeah, there were no front claw marks on those prints. There is a fella on this side list. There is a fella on this side list. For some reason I click on it. And it's you, Steve, with a Sawbase story sent in to you. I sit back in my chair and I say out loud, "Well, if that's what you are, where were you going?" I immediately receive in my head a wraparound picture, like all around me at once. It is a picture of where I was standing in the cemetery, showing me where the prints were heading across land I'm familiar with, and some past that, a big distance, and also on the other side of the sagging wire fence at the corner of the cemetery, a Papa Sabe standing. He's very tall, I'd say 14 feet. Absolutely magnificent physically and in energetic form. Forget predator, in my opinion. He is an energetic presence. I can see all the natural energy lines flowing through him and also defining his outline. My knowledge association reference is like Paul Bunyan. He's standing still, close to the other side of the fence, legs together and arms folded across his chest. He's watching me look at these prints. Excuse me. I get the impression of patience. Then the time is getting close to 4 p.m. perhaps, and I am told to go. Wow. Now it starts off with second experience. 2 summers later, I'm up north at the house again. I'm sitting in front of the sunroom of the house. The sun is streaming in the windows. I've cleared a spot at the corner of the windowed sunroom window to set my crystals and rocks. I love rocks. I get up from the computer and go over to it to turn a crystal to catch the sun. And as I do, and I'm telling it can only be used for good, a movement catches the corner of my eye out the front window. An adolescent Sabe is just walking by less than 10 feet from me. He's heading toward the creek. That's why I'm calling the first one Papa Sabe, and this one the adolescent Sabe. I can't say why, I just know. I see adolescent Sabe from 3/4 view at his left rear. He is absolutely massive in construction physically, about 7 feet tall, built like the character of the comic book Fantasy 4. The one built out of orange rocks. Only Sabe is not orange nor rock-like. Just similar physical build. He's pumping his arms, bent at the elbows, swinging his fists up, then down and back as he marches along. He is in energetic form, the sun shining behind him. I slowly, quietly begin stepping backwards to stay out of sight from him and for some reason think, don't do that. In neither of the above cases was I alarmed, but more like unsettled. Like an unanswered question with safety held close first, but danger radar beeping around the edges. A beware feeling. Oh, this sounds weird. I think it's weird. But if one doesn't know what something is, it's best to let be and give a wide berth, in my opinion, until one has more information. Perhaps that's why, after watching you for 6 years after the first encounter, I had a memory recall that set me once again back in my seat, because I think Mom and Grandpa knew, and they kept this knowledge from me. And Grandpa knew too. 12 years old experience. On a sunny summer day up north, Mom and Grandma took me, 12 years old, and my 2 younger brothers, 10 and 9, in the boat across the lake to a really cool swimming rock. We could all swim like fish by now. The rock was at a deep spot of the lake with a 10-foot high jump off point. The top of the rock was also perfect to sun on. There was a little rock off the side to climb out of the water onto, then climb the rounded rock up, then jump off into the lake again. Bliss. We had been here before, excuse me, but never without Grandma. Dad usually ran the boat when we did go there. There is only lots of forest behind the rock as far as I know then. We would pull the boat into the spot on the other side of a stand of alders, climb up a smooth, slanted section of Canadian shield, walk along the top of the alders along a game trail for about 30 yards, then come out of the swimming rock. I decided this day that I would try to find a shortcut across the alders to save some time getting to the swimming rock from where we tied up the boat. We arrived and I began exploring. The alders were so dense I had to weave my right arm through them, then weave my body after, so it took longer than I thought to explore finding a new path. Suddenly, I came to an opening and pulled up with a start because there was a very slick mudslide. And boy, did it smell bad. I was immediately on edge. I thought there's no reason to be on edge. I thought maybe beaver slide. Excuse me, and began to assess. I couldn't jump across it because it was more than 5 feet wide across, and I couldn't take a run at it. I couldn't step onto it because the sides were at least a foot deep, and it was so slick looking. I felt if I did, I'd just whisk down to the lake. I decided to defeat on my mission, grabbed an alder at the edge to swing my body around onto, begin heading back. Then I hear Mom calling me. No, not calling me, screaming for me. She sounded really frantic. I kept calling back that I'm coming. I'm just working on it. But she kept calling me as if she didn't hear me. Boy, did she sound frantic. As I finally approached the swimming rock, Mom saw me with my arm outstretched ahead of me, reached into the alders, grabbed my hand, and began yanking on it, banging my head a few times into the alders in front of me. I yelled to let me go so I could get out. But as she was pulling on my arm, she began angrily yelling at me, "You were throwing rocks at your brothers." She was really mad. I thought which she would have a right to be if I was throwing rocks at my little brothers, except I wasn't. Nor could I from my position within the alder stand. I said, no, I wasn't. Of course, because I've had glasses and a few bones broken, defending my little brothers from bullies. So, geez, Mom, you know this. That would never happen. I didn't really expect anyone else to believe this either, but she kept going on about this as if it was fact. Huh? I get out of the alders, go to the top of the swimming rock, and see my 2 brothers down in the water. Mom screams at me, "What are you doing?" She never was a good communicator. But today, She is crazy. To me as a 12-year-old, she looked really mad at me because I was throwing rocks at my brothers. My brothers are holding still in the water. My little brother's holding on to the little climbing out rock, and my other brother's treading water out of necessity behind him, and they're looking up at us. I say, I'm going swimming, because I hadn't been swimming yet. And Mom screams at me, no you don't, get down there with your brothers. Okay, so I can't go swimming, but I'm being told to get down with my brothers who are in the lake. Mom is not making sense. I say I can't get down there because I would be stepping on little brother's hands. Meanwhile, she is standing with arms outstretched, sort of herding me down the rounded edge of the swimming rock. I cannot gain any ground back to more sure footing if I step closer to assess over the edge how my brothers are doing. I tell Mom to at least let little brother stand out of the water or on the little rock. Then other brother can hold on to it. And little brother can get out of the water because he must be getting cold staying in the water. And my mom screams at me, no, get down there. I look around for Grandma and try to get some sense out of the situation and ask where she is. Mom screams that Grandma's getting the boat and I was supposed to be helping her. Huh? Okay, I say, I'll go help her. I try to help the rock to the trail, but Mom screams at me, no you don't, stay where you are and get down. I look at my brothers, they look at me, as we do when Mom is on a rant, but this is different somehow. We wait. Grandma paddles the boat around the alders. She must have been in a heck of a hurry not to start the motor, or to stay as quiet as possible maybe. And boy does she look serious. She does not say anything comforting. She's in a big hurry, paddling efficiently up to the rock. No one wasted a movement, nor coasting, but full stop paddle. When she reaches us, bow perfectly placed at the edge of the climbing, up rock next to little brother's hands. The boys get in the boat. At this awkward deep water spot, I climb in, Mom climbs in and sits at the bow. That's my spot. I'm in charge of pushing off and pulling in the boat, but not today. We sit in the middle and Grandma orders Mom to get them down. Mom screams at us to lie down in the boat. I won't do that. It's wet and I'm not. My brothers do though, and they are watching me for any clue of reason. They watch me for the rest of the day as I watch the adults and try to figure out what's going on. Yes, this goes on all day and into the evening, and more strangeness the next day. So if you can bear with me, it is such a relief to tell and such a gush of emotion to remember. When parents are acting scared and weird, no matter how loving they are at other times, kids pay attention big. It's called survival and stands well in life. We motor across the lake, and although Mom yells at me, I reach over the side of the boat to pull in the bow rope she just left trailing in the water when she pushed off. Never do that. Get kept in the motor. Sheesh. Mom tries to ask Grandma a question, but Grandma shuts her down, saying, we'll ask Grandpa. Now I think, why don't they ask Grandpa about me throwing rocks? And I think I'm in trouble. But it doesn't make any sense, because Grandpa's never responsible for disciplining us. We motor across the lake. When we beach, Mom starts yelling again, telling me to get my brothers in the car right now. The boat stayed at the lake then, before newcomers moved into the area. Off we go to Grandma and Grandpa's house, now mine. Things remain serious. As we change out of our swimsuits, I can hear Grandma make 2 phone calls. I cannot hear what she is saying. We are told to sit on the living room floor, central house, and are not allowed to go outside. Mom does not look well. She's holding on to things to keep herself up and is very wide-eyed and just staring at nothing. My brothers watch me as I sit on the floor, being very quiet for them. I'm thankful for this as I need to think because I don't know what is going on. I creep off the floor and up onto the couch and on my knees watch out the front picture window. I try a few times to get us out of the house, the boys at my heels, so we can get away from this craziness and find some quiet, but we're not allowed. Grandpa pulls into the driveway. Grandpa pulls into the driveway. Grandma has pulled him off his job building a house up the road, and Grandma tells Mom, you go rest now. Mom goes upstairs to bed. Grandma pulls on her rubber boots, goes out and meets Grandpa at his truck as he gets out, and they talk by his truck standing close together. I cannot hear what they are saying. Then Grandma tramps into the house in her boots, gets Grandpa's red and black checked lumber jacket out of the closet while Grandpa stands at the door. Front door leads into the living room where we are. And when she stops in front of him, he pulls his signature brown corduroy cap off his head, hands it to her and says, "Wear this." She nods, puts it on, goes out, and shuts the door behind her. She leaves in their car. I do not remember which direction she drove away in because I try to grab an opportunity. I try again to go outside with the boys. Grandpa says we need to stay inside. He's gentle about it, but I know it's still a no-go. I resume watching out the front window. The boys stay on the floor. Grandpa sits at the kitchen table and reads his Bible. All is quiet for a while. Then I yell, "Dad!" Grandma's second phone call. He's traveled the many miles north straight from work, driving a new company car and still in his suit. Somehow Grandpa beats me to the door. The door is right beside the couch I'm kneeling on, and I hear him as he greets Dad say, "How many land speed records did you break?" Then they talk quietly, and I can't hear what they are saying. They come in, Dad hugs and kisses us as usual, then looks at me and says, "Where's your mom?" "Upstairs," I answer. Dad goes upstairs. The stairs go up the side of the living room. Then comes back down looking serious. Goes into the kitchen where Grandpa is sitting and closes the kitchen door. Old country house with doors between all rooms to conserve heat from the kitchen wood stove. They talk quietly. I can't hear what they're saying. Then the kitchen door opens up and Dad calls me in. I walk into the kitchen and Dad says to me, "Why were you throwing rocks at your brothers?" I'm very worried at this and respond truthfully and scared. In fact, emphatically, I wasn't. Dad says in a serious dad voice, "Then why did your mom say you were?" I'm quite shaken at this point. I mean, Dad isn't a mean, cruel man or anything, but still, I don't want to be in trouble. And I didn't do this. But the whole situation seems to be revolving around me having done something bad that I have no idea about. And then Grandpa holds his arm between us and shuts Dad down. I'd never seen Grandpa do anything like this before, but boy, was I grateful when he looked at me and said, "You can go," while still holding his arm between Dad and me. Because Grandma wasn't home yet, and it was getting dark, and Mom was being ill upstairs. Grandpa put on a total lumberjack spread of a meal for us that evening. I think in retrospect, like when he cooked for the local logging camps when he was young. No man was I happy, but when I was helping my little brothers fill their plates, Dad snapped at me. Grandpa again put out his arm and stopped him. Dad didn't say another word, even when I then helped little brother handle a serving dish. Too big for him after that. Just strangeness upon strangeness is what I'm trying to say. The boys could be happy eating, and I'm their big sister trying to help them. And they're watching me all the time, like when I came back out of the kitchen after the conversation with Dad. They know more than I do. But all our adults are out of character and not explaining anything to us. I don't know about them because neither of them remembered this day. Because I asked them. But I was seriously stressed for hours on end. To be fair, so were our parents and grandparents. We had the kids put to bed, being the oldest, and I'm the only girl. My bed is in the living room couch by the front door under the picture window. I determine to stay awake until Grandma gets home. Eventually I see the car headlights pull into the drive. And I pretend to be asleep. Grandpa meets Grandma at the front door. I peek over the covers. And Grandma hands Grandpa his cap and says, "I skinned 2 rabbits. Grandpa says, "You did good." He sent her to see a trapper, I think. Where or who, I have no idea. It certainly wasn't Uncle, because she could have been to their place and back faster by walking. She goes into the kitchen with Grandpa, where Dad is waiting. They close the door. I sit at the table. They close the door, sit at the table, and talk quietly. You know, I hate to say it, but you're probably going to drive the crowd bonkers right now. fine details, right? Hopefully you're going to get to the point soon. Maybe it's because I'm really tired. Then Dad comes up, goes up the stairs, and comes back down with Mom. He's holding her up. She's staggering forward, unsteadily, with her other arm out forward as if looking for something to hold on to. Her eyes are wide, and I swear her hair looks kind of gray. I look up at Dad. He gives me a smile and says, "Your mom needs some supper." Takes her into the kitchen. They close the door. I hear Grandma quietly talking. I do not hear Grandpa or Dad say a word. And the next I hear is Mom wail, plaintively, "No," in a long drawn-out wail. Then plaintively, "Oh, Dad." Now I'm very scared. Dad throws open the kitchen door and Grandpa comes out carrying Mom, and she's fainted. He carries her across the room and up the stairs, with Dad following. Grandpa comes down and hide under the covers. Dad comes down a short while later, looking to the kitchen. I sit up on the couch and look at him. He can tell I'm scared. He gives me a half smile and says, "Your mom's had too much sun," but I know that isn't true. The kitchen door is closed again. Grandma, Grandpa, and Dad behind the closed kitchen door talk quietly, exhausted, and I fall asleep. Next day, I get up in the morning. I go to the bathroom. When I come out of the bathroom, my bedding is all packed up off the couch, and my dad is sitting there smoking a cigarette. Tells me to get dressed, get some breakfast. Grandpa's made breakfast. As they eat, Dad gets the boys up and tells them to go get breakfast. "Okay, come on." Immediately when we finish eating, Dad tells us to get in the car. He's always packed everything. He has already packed everything. We're supposed to be here all week. We've only been here one day. All right. I read ahead, and I'm not kidding. I was almost gonna just pull the pin on this one, because sometimes some people just, not everybody has the same delivery as each other, right? But what do? I can't not read somebody's frickin' email after reading so far along. I don't have time to look for some other ones, so I'm gonna carry on. I'll carry through this ending. It's coming right up, but holy shit. Now, the next day, I get up in the morning to go to the bathroom. When I come out of the bathroom, I protest and say I want to stay. Dad says, "No, your mother needs to see a doctor." Grandma's already sitting in Mom's car to drive it back south. She'll not look at me. I stand alone in the living room looking at the front door, being the last one in the house to go. I square my shoulders and take a deep breath and steady myself before stepping out of the front door. I'm close to tears. Grandpa's standing in the kitchen doorway, and he walks over to me and places a hand on my shoulder. I tentatively look up at him and say, "I wasn't throwing rocks." He says, "I know, and I told your father too." We drive the many miles south nonstop, unusual. When we get to the house, Dad tells us to take our luggage in. I come back out quickly looking for Grandma, thinking she'll be staying with us at least overnight, but they are gone. Dad drives her round trip back north. Aftermath. I find a new prescription in the medicine cabinet for my mom called Valium. I hope it helped her. Mom also began to color her hair, but about this time because she began to go gray. I hope this helps some people. It seems some of the sabe are helpful, and some can scare the living tar out of you, and some are just hanging around. And Steve, I have a question I hope you can help me with. More than any other person I know of can give me an educated opinion on. One day when I was 10 or so, a man came to Grandma's door. He was a big man. I hadn't seen him before, and it was winter. And Grandma brought him in and sat him at her kitchen table. He wore his boots into the house and made him a full hot-cooked supper meal in the middle of the day. They talked about this and that. And after he finished eating, he told Grandma the reason he had traveled to see her was he was told by a person who witnessed it that a person had seen on the frozen lake behind our property a whole herd of deer, maybe 12 or so, had been herded out there onto the frozen lake by wolves on a recent full moon and were all killed but not eaten. They had been discovered, some still alive, with their entrails ripped out. He knew Grandma took care of the deer that crossed her property, so he come to let her know what he heard from, obviously someone who he believed. I never saw this man again in my recollection. He had to duck to get in the door and turn sort of sideways to get his shoulders in. I wasn't sure what to make of him, and Grandma didn't introduce me to him. Before hearing them talk, I had recently been given... before hearing them talk, I had recently been given as school reading the book Never Cry Wolf by Farley Mowat. And Mowat said that wolves were given a bad rap, that they only killed for food. So it's hit bam, bam in a short amount of time with two very different wolf stories. One we were being taught to believe in school, and one I heard from an old-timer being told to Grandma. I humbly ask your professional opinion. Would wolves herd a whole herd of deer onto a frozen lake and just kill them all, but not for food? Because if it wasn't wolves... Thank you, Jill. Please withhold my last name. All right, Jill. Don't take my impatience as insulting, Jill, all right? It's just a long one. We got a lot of people to listen to, and it's a long one. I'm glad you shared it. We all don't have the same delivery. And I imagine, for the sounds of it, that's a bit of a traumatizing moment for you, for sure, with everlasting effects. Anyway, is what it is. I will answer the wolf question. I will answer it absolutely correctly with first-hand knowledge. And yes, don't shoot the messenger, everyone, but wolves kill for fun all the time. They just do. That's a fact, and the people who teach it otherwise know that that's the fact too. It's just what they do, no different than dogs when they pack up the neighborhood and go on a rampage. What else do you do when you're a wolf, right? Especially on ice. They run everything. If they got ice, wolves and ice go hand in hand in the wintertime. If they can run shit on the ice, that's what they do. As soon as you get on the ice, you're done for. Nothing you can do about it. And usually in wintering zones, all the ungulates are herded up, so it's pretty easy. There's a lake I used to trap and shoot wolves called Carpenter Lake, and if you get up there when it's really cold out and just start driving along the lake, you'll see blood blotches all the way the length of that lake. It's something like 30 miles long or something. And there's just kill after kill after kill after kill after kill all the way along on the ice with mountain sheep and deer, and I'd imagine you get the odd moose out there. But anyway, when have I seen them? I've seen a caribou right along my horse up North Gadding. Big bull caribou standing there, and his hind quarters have all the hide ripped right off his ass cheeks, pulled all the way down his ankles, like you drop your pants around your ankles, just standing there. Just standing there. Those wolves already had full tummies. They caught the bull caribou running away from him and shredded his ass down to the ground. See you later. And they left. Another time, a ranch I used to guide for up north, they built a big, tall elk fence to keep the elk off of the farming property where they grew their own hay and oats for the horses. Like 100 horses, right? So they built a fence around it, chain link fence, steel poles all the way around their oat field, hay field. Now on an inside corner, so I'll make it an L, right? The inside of the L being the outside of the fence, the wolves learned that they could easily chase elk along the fence into that inside corner, and they killed them there. And they stacked up a whole bunch of elk on top of each other in that corner and killed them all and didn't eat one of them. There you go. First-hand information. Don't shoot the messenger. That's what they do. When they say they only eat the old and the sick, whoever come up with that line is an absolute liar. As usual. Right? As usual. Now, do I got time to... Let me check. What do I got? See if I can get one more shared. It's unfortunate. Sometimes we're going to get long ones. It's not fair to not read it, but what do you do? What do you do? It's harmless in the end. It's not going to kill me or you or harm us in any way. It's just going to test our patience a little bit, but we have to have respect. Now, oh, this is unrelated. Okay, hold on a second. All right, one more. One more, and I'm going back in to resume being a nurse. Hi, Steve. My name is Jeff. I'm from Indiana, United States. I'm 47 years old, and I've done my fair share of hunting, fishing, and camping and hiking, etc. While growing up, my stepdad was the person that taught me all the activities I just mentioned. He was/is a very knowledgeable man that grew up in the hollers of Kentucky. With that being said, I believe I can say now, and knew then, that I know the sounds all the local wildlife makes. One night I went to visit a cousin and didn't return until later that night to my mother's house. I lived 60 miles away with my father. My mom and stepdad lived out in the country, saying that they lived out of the city amongst farms and wooded areas. My mom had a 48-acre plot of property. There was 2 creeks that ran through the property. All of it was wooded, except where the house and garage was. When I got back to Mom's that night, there was something out in the woods, making a growling type of noise, and I heard it 3 times. Excuse me. I stood there on the porch trying to figure out what it was I was hearing. It actually grabbed 110% of my attention right away. I actually thought it was a bear, and if not a bear, it had to be a monster. Seriously. That's what I thought. So much so that I told Mom, stepdad, sister, and brother the very next morning about what I heard the night before. They all messed with me, teasing me. My stepdad, Charlie, was from Kentucky, and he was has a thick hillbilly accent. So when he says bear, it actually sounds like bar. And he said, "There ain't no bar in them there woods, LOL." It was really funny, him goading me like that, like he did. There isn't monsters as far as I know either. I think back on it, and back then there wasn't internet, and you really only got to hear different animals a few different ways, which the best idea I had then was a bear. And I remember what I heard then. And it wasn't a bear. It wasn't a dog. It wasn't coyotes. And definitely not a deer or cattle. I'm pretty sure I know what it was. I was 18 and said a monster. I'm 47 now, and I'm going to say a Bigfoot. It had to be. There's nothing else out there that made that sound. Just thought I'd share my little story. You can share the names I've said here in the letter. First names only. Thanks. Have a great day. Fort Wayne, Indiana. Okay, Jeff. Appreciate it, man. There you go. I wonder how many people listening haven't heard that sound, but they're about to. I wonder how many people have been here. Been here long enough now. I wonder how many people that start watching this channel of curiosity and have for a real interest. I wonder how many people have become aware of people's experiences from this channel and then all of a sudden had their own shit-eating experience they didn't ask for. I bet there's got to be some by now, wouldn't you think? I think so. Well, I've had a lot of people actually email. We've had some hunters who emailed in and said it finally happened. It happened to me. Didn't think it ever would or whatever. But anyway, rolling along. You guys know what I'm doing in my time, so please don't be frustrated with me for not getting other balls rolling in the direction I want them to roll when it comes to this, who I need to go talk to, where I need to go. Okay, so I'm an open book. I share with everybody what I'm doing, what I'm up against currently, and you know my schedule, you know what I'm doing. So bear with me. I'll keep sharing these emails while I can right now. And as soon as I get through our little hurdles we got going on here, I'll be booking a plane trip. All right, and then we're going to get this ball rolling forward fast in some new directions. Okay? Okay. Share my story at howtohunt.com or tell my story at howtohunt.com. Get it out. Get the truth out and share it. All right? Share it, share it, share it. Teach the children truth. I'll be back.